I just realized I was muted, dang it. Hello, lovely people of the internet. 'Tis I, Savage Minnow, here by myself again this week. Holy Spackle is still recovering from surgery, and we wish her well. But I am alone this week. And this is my quote for the week. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind today. I'm going to be actually going back and reacting to more of this video that we reacted to last week. Oh, I was hoping that that QR code would be smaller. Hmm. Let's see if it's in the way. If the QR code is in the way, I will remove it. But we're going to react to more of this video. Like I said, Spackle is still recovering from surgery. They touch on a lot of stuff in this video that I want to talk about anyway. We are starting to get into the part that I haven't seen yet. We are like 40 minutes into this video, so I'm kind of interested. I know there's a little bit more I watched. There is a part that's coming up that's it's kind of heavy, but I will say that the way that they approach it, the way that they deal with it is um somewhat with levity and respect, and I was really impressed with that. But yeah. Oh, by the way, I did get the wall behind me painted. Oh, ignore the ladder. I'm not sure if it's gonna stay this color. I'm thinking it might stay this color. Let me know what you think. I went to go buy purple paint. I was thinking purple. And then when I got to the store, this one was a mist tint that was on the shelf for like really cheap. And I was like, all right, decision made. It's gonna be this color. And then I woke up in the morning after painting the first coat and I was like, oh my God, it's really, really red. So I don't know if I'm gonna keep it. But yeah. Anyway, that's I know the background has been a little bit of a it's been changing up. It's because I just moved here and I'm trying to figure out something with this wall, but I'll figure something out eventually. I lost one person already. I think I started out just saying AA is a cult. Sorry, I do believe that AA is a cult. Maybe I should give like a little bit of background about my own story. I should figure out like a concise way to do this in like 30 seconds at the beginning of every episode. I was in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous for 4 years. Um, I don't know. It's fucking messed up. The thing that really bothers me, I think the most, is really when they tell you that this is the only way, that the 12 steps are the only way, and that all the other options, if you leave this room without working the steps, your only other options are jails, institutions, and death. That's the thing that really, to me, makes it bad. Sandy's still here and you like the color. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. But yeah, that's the thing that really, to me, I was thinking about this last week because I was like, what is the thing that makes me the most upset about it? Because there's so many things that make me upset about it. There's the bait and switch, the fact that it like takes people away from stuff that like may be really fulfilling for them. It 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 separates people from their families. It does the like group think where it like, doesn't let you think for yourself. But I really, really think that the thing that makes it the worst in my mind is that they tell you that if you don't do this shit, you're gonna die. You either give up your will to this group or you die. And that's the thing that really ticks me off. But yeah, there's so many things that we're gonna get into. But yeah, this is just gonna be kind of a chill stream. Um, And yeah, people might be coming in and out. I'm not sure if Spackle even has the energy to even come by the chat today, and that is okay. That is okay. It's just gonna be kind of a chill stream. We're just basically we were just getting started on this when she almost died and was in the hospital. and I don't want to like lose the momentum of streaming every week. So I want to go ahead and, make sure that we're streaming every week. And these videos, like I said, this does a really good job of covering a lot of the things that I want to talk about in somewhat of a different manner, but we'll go into it more deeply over the next few weeks. But yeah, I did really, really like this video, and I did really appreciate his perspective and her perspective on his perspective as well. Like that's you'll see.
And I knew I was like, I need to end this relationship. I need to get out. Like a month after that, I met Jake on that camping trip, and like we became fast friends. I rent rooms in my house, and I met him. I'm like, you're the perfect person to like live with.
I think he was talking about here his like the best friends that he has to this day are people that he met in the rooms. I don't actually personally have that. And I wouldn't say that I'm against being friends with those people. It's just that that's not, there was so much judgment there and so much negativity when I finally left. I just felt like I was constantly being judged, constantly being told that I was wrong all of the time. And any of them like came to me, we were wrong, or, wanted to apologize, or even not even that. Like, what is it? Clear the air, and just talk about stuff. I would be down for that. None of them have really approached me that way. They just cut me out of their life. And then they just like give you the look, like you may as well be dead if they see you in public. So that's always fun. But yeah.
And so he moved into my house, and I would say right around first during my time
Oh no, I went out there for a
in
second.
the rooms,
Hopefully,
right? Like I
you're
went
not.
on camping trips. I enjoyed going to conventions. I felt this sense of community and camaraderie. But what started to happen was that
We
as I
just to
really
1.25
dove
last time.
into working the steps, the shame and guilt language of the steps started my being. And it started off as a low whisper. You worked your 4 steps. So these are things that
Yeah, the fourth step is where they really start getting it in, like with all of the shaming and the guilt. The first three steps are about sort of making you mentally pliable for allowing almost this fourth step. I feel like if you haven't done the first three steps, you look at the fourth step and you're like, I'm not doing that. What the fuck? But oh, my video feed keeps ticking and then restarting. You're not sure that okay. I'll see if it keeps going, and then I might try restarting. We'll see. I might have to like put up an intermission. Oh no, they're not synced. Okay, let me try this. All right, is that better? Are they better synced now? Okay, tell me if it's still terrible. And I'm gonna keep going for now, but let me know. I'll watch the chat. Thank you, Aunt Jerry and Sandy. I appreciate that.
that you can start to look at and start working on to it. And then it started building and building into this like sort of quiet roar. So about from 8 months until the time that I left, I started waking up in the morning, and my internal dialogue, which to be fair had oftentimes been pretty cruel to me throughout my life, even before I got into the rooms, it just started getting ramped up to 5 times 8 times 10. I would wake up in the morning, and it would be like,
Now, there are cuts in this video. I have noticed that like she has gone back and like edited cuts in it where he probably paused for a long time or something like that. So I do want to point that out. But let me know if it's having any issues playing, if it's cutting out to black or anything like that, or if I'm glitching out or anything like that. Please and thank you.
talking to me like look at all of these character defects you have. Look at how much you've let down your family.
This
Look
is
at how
such
much
inner voice.
pain you've caused your family. And it just got louder and louder and louder, and I couldn't turn it off, and it was like spinning, and all of the input that I had from my friends in the rooms was like, go to more meetings, go to different meetings, maybe try working the steps more, try getting a different sponsor. It was never directing me outside of the rooms, outside of the ideology. Hey, maybe this like might have helped you at first, but like maybe it's starting to like cause a little bit of harm. So then
That's kind of what I was saying about like the problem is that it doesn't, even if it doesn't work for you, they don't, there's no like ability to recognize that there might be somebody that it might not work for, and those people need to try other options. Even if they recognize that it was just a small percentage, right? But they have this saying, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Now you would think that it's like, oh, rarely means it sometimes happens, but no, the emphasis is on the thoroughly in that. So if you fail, it's your fault because you didn't thoroughly follow the path. And he's right. It's this luckily my type of mental health issues and my neurodivergent brain didn't get into this, but like I can see where when it's like there's no, the only option is jails, institutions, or death. This jails, institutions, or death. So like you got to keep doing it. You got to work the steps harder. You got to like, and this just really makes me sad. Yeah, you didn't try hard enough. Exactly. It's always your fault. If the program fails you, it's not the program's fault, it's your fault, which is completely wrong.
COVID happened and we're all on lockdown, and to kind of preserve the like pod of like my mom and my stepdad and me, like I moved back into their house, the Zoom meeting started. And so then I was like on meetings all the time. I was just like it was just on in the background all the time.
Oh my gosh. I did not catch this the first time that I watched that he was just like, watch. Oh my gosh. So I left before the whatever you want to call it. And I never did the Zoom meetings or anything. All the meetings that I went to were in person. I did not think about how like the people who are like, you have to do, because like there are people who get weirdly obsessed about like the 90 meetings in 90 days or 100 meetings in 100 days. Depending on the area is kind of different way that they do it. But um yeah, I can only imagine if you like 16 waking hours, that's 16 meetings I can go to, or oh my god. Oh my god.
And because there wasn't a lot going on,
That's my ex had like some OCD type tendencies, and I can only imagine them getting caught up in this and like, oh,
I don't know, like 4 service positions. I was the secretary. I was admitting people
four,
into the Zoom and doing all of
four.
the managing of that. And I just fell into the worst mental health crisis. It's hard to even put into words how dominant this cruel, bullying internal dialogue became in my mind, and I couldn't shut it off. And there would be days where I just would lay on the bed and I would just be sobbing for hours. I couldn't shut it off. And then it got really,
I can only
really
imagine
dark. It was all everything I said about what my dialogue was telling me,
because
but
that
then
like
it started
step
turning
4, step 5 is
into the
brutal.
world would just be so much better off if you didn't exist. Like your family would be better off, your friends would be better off, you wouldn't be
Sorry, I
missed.
should have
And
gave you some
that
trigger
just
warning for
started
that.
getting louder and louder and louder. And I remember
This
um
I will like warn you that this isn't. Again, I put this on, like, the first day that she posted this, I was, like, I put it on while I was, like, getting ready in the morning. I did not catch all of it, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is amazing." I did not have time to watch it all, but then Spackle was ill, and I was like, "This is what we're doing." So, um, I haven't heard all of this, but I do know that it does go someplace that does get a little bit darker, and I just wanna, like, give you warning for that.
I remember a night I was like laying on the office floor in a ball, just like wailing and crying. And my mom like
We are
kind
very
of
glad
holding
that
me
he is
from behind and crying with me. And I just remember telling her, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to be here anymore. You know, like I've had enough. Like I'm just such a failure. I've just let you down and I've caused so much pain. And um and she was crying too, and she's like, I forgive you for all of that. Like you're trying to, you know, you're doing your best to try to heal, and just make me one promise, you know, make me one promise that you won't kill yourself. And I'm like, you're really gonna make me make that promise? Like I really, really want to. She's like, yes, you have to
good
promise
on her.
me that you won't kill yourself.
Good
And
on her.
I was like, all right, Mom, I promise. And so meanwhile, during this time, I had one day a week where I was hanging out. It was like me and Jake's time. So we would like go mountain biking. We always had these really great conversations. We would talk for hours about personal development and trying to like, I don't know, heal and become our best version. But during this time, I was just in so much
Same kind of
pain
thing.
that I remember talking to him about considering ending my life. And he was just like my mom, just really like, hey man, like I need you here. Like, we can work through this. We can heal from this. I'm here for you. And I remember Jake said something. It seemed so obvious looking back on it.
I do remember
But
this
when he
part.
said it to me, it was like one of the most profound statements of love that anyone could have made. And especially coming from an ideology like the 12 steps, which what they say in NA is don't use no matter what.
No
And so
matter
that was
what.
like the whole
And
thing.
you chant,
Don't
no
use no
matter
matter
what.
what. And so in this context for me, no matter what meant kill yourself. It was like, you have to stay sober and you have to stay clean, even if that means taking your own life before you use drugs. And what
I
Jake
like
said
that
to me
answer.
was, he was like, you know what, man, I would really rather you smoke a joint and not kill yourself rather than force yourself to kill yourself and stay clean. And it was
I'm going to back that up because I was a little bit distracted by what Aunt Jer said. But I appreciate Aunt Jer. Um, that it sounds like a good therapist. The therapist will do that too. They'll have you sign a contract and say what would motivate you to not break the contract. And the contract being, I'm assuming, like, hey, I'm not gonna self harm, or that kind of thing. And that's, I think that is great. I did have like years ago, I had like a self harm incident while I was in therapy, and I do remember like my therapist not. I don't remember if it was like specifically about the self-harm, but I do remember him just saying, like, "I want you, like, to basically kinda make" like his mom said, to, like, "promise me that you're not," because, like and I really appreciated the way that he did it because he said it from, like, a very pragmatic point of view. He was like, "Please understand that, like, in my, like, line of work that, like, this is, the way that I feed my family, like, that would be really devastating, and that would, like, cause me difficulty to be able to take care for my family. So, like, please recognize that, and please don't do that for me. Thank you." And it, like, really did just kinda make me be like, "Oh, yeah, like, that would be" not that I don't think that, like, when people are like, "Suicide is a selfish thing to do," I don't necessarily agree with that, and we can get into that a different time, but in that instance, it just, like, made me, like, recognize this one specific aspect of, like, how that would affect other people. Sandy says, "Things have changed since I was in therapy. No one made me promise them that they knew it would be an empty" well, and maybe that's why they didn't, maybe, again, you had a good therapist that was like, "That would be an empty promise. We know you, Sandy. That would be an empty promise. Let's not even bother with that, maybe." I don't know. Too stubborn. See? So maybe they did do that back then, they just didn't do that to you. But see, that's the kind of thing that would work for me. And, like, I think that's cool though that, like, different strokes for different folks. And I also think that that's important with alcohol recovery is that this and I've said this before, you've heard me say this before. I think there's a certain type of person that this program works for. I think a person who maybe, like, grew up in, a Christian or somewhat religious background, um, who has kind of an arrested development around, like, late teens, early 20s, where that type of group mentality, that group camaraderie, peer pressure type shit is really impactful for them, then like maybe 12 steps will be helpful for you and a dude, because let's face it, women and non-binary people who walk into that situation are likely going to be predated upon. Predated upon? I can't say that word properly. But you get what I'm saying. It's a predatory fucking organization, and they're going to become prey. But yeah, for men who are in that situation, I think that maybe this program, maybe like working once through the steps, maybe would help. That type of like shame, humiliation ritual that like they need to see, like, oh yeah, like I really did fuck over a bunch of people, and then go on to therapy, and then mature a little bit, and then leave the program. I don't think that the steps over and over and over again is a good idea. But yeah, see. Um, Aunt Chair says, well, the key part is to discuss why you don't want to break the contract. For me, it was, I don't want to disappoint you. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to give my therapist trauma. I did promise Chaplain Mitchie I'd serve my sentence out and not off myself after John died. But that was only so that they wouldn't send me back to gun camp for my last 2.5 years of my 7-year sentence. Well, hey, whatever motivates you. Exactly, Andrea. Whatever the motivation is that works. For me, it was like, I don't want to give my therapist trauma. Before that, I was like, I can't leave my dog motherless. Literally times when that was the deciding thing, was like, well, I can't leave the dog. See? Macaroni and cheese, whatever it is, whatever does the trick. I do believe in like the concept of like one day at a time or just for today. Like I don't necessarily believe in it like in like the way that it's like in this book kind of shit. But like I do believe in like sometimes you just gotta get through the day. Sometimes you just gotta get through the day. But also like that's finding the power within yourself. That's not giving up your will to the group, giving them all of your power. Nah.
It's just the most like radical statement of like love.
Oh yeah, I want to back this up.
And like true, really rather you smoke a joint and not kill yourself.
That's what I was getting at.
He was like, you know what, man, I would really rather you smoke a joint and not kill yourself rather than force yourself to kill yourself and stay clean. And it was just the most like radical statement of like love and like true love and connection.
That was what
like
brought the
someone
walls
really
down.
cares about me just being here, and that the ideology and maintaining it is less important. It was like, oh, what's the saying in the rooms?
You're a person.
Of like principles before personalities. It's like, no, motherfucker, like personality in this circumstance over principles.
You matter.
And,
you matter.
Yeah. Yes.
And even though he said that,
you're a person. You matter.
I couldn't take it anymore. And so one day, without going into too terribly much detail, I found myself, there's a little tiny town called Davenport, and it has these giant cliffs. And I found myself, I'm like, you know what, I'm
that
done.
Wasn't completely
and
a 180
I drove out to
that,
these cliffs and I like tried to make peace with life the best I could. And I took off running and I ran as fast as I could to the end of this cliff. And then I literally, like, it was like it was a pronounced hallucination. I saw my mom like in the sky, and she screamed at me, you promised you wouldn't. And I like collapsed and fell, like I tripped and I fell before the cliff edge. And I was just like covered in dirt and I was just sobbing. Like people came over and like called someone, called 911 or whatever. I was taken to the hospital, and holy shit, it just
still gives me goosebumps.
It was so scary. And so I went to the hospital and I had time in the hospital to myself. I had time away from the Zoom meetings. I had time away from the program. I had time away from the service positions. I had time away from the steps. And that was the crack in my brainwashing. It was like, if I'm being told by these people that this is the solution.
I really think that what his friend said to him when somebody who is in the rooms said to him, and it wasn't said to him in the rooms, but it was somebody who was in the meetings, looked him in the eyes and said, "Hey man, I'd rather you smoke a joint than kill yourself." That was the crack. That's really what I believe, that was the crack. And then when he finally got into the hospital and like therapy and all of that, that's when the dam broke. But I really think the initial crack was like, that's why he had that reaction to his friend saying that. Even though he still, it still had it there. It's like the fact that like his friend saying that was like, wait, what? How can that be true?
And I have been literally like staying clean, working the program, doing the things that I'm being told to do. What if it's the program? What if it's the thing that they're saying is the solution is causing me all of this pain? And you know what? It was. That after I got out of the hospital, my life has done nothing but improve ever since.
When you were in the
That's I also want to touch on that. Like, I realized that, okay, I did go through a period as a teenager of like doing a bunch of fucking drugs, right? All kinds of fucking drugs, whatever I could get my fucking hands on. I did tons of drugs because I was going through a bunch of pain and I was going through some shit. Hello, Titan. I needed to like recover from that, but I didn't need to stay in recovery. And staying in recovery was actually keeping me from healing. And it was keeping me in this feeling of like guilt and like just constant shame. More than guilt, just shame. And it wasn't helpful. And then I realized when I got out, and it's kind of funny, I realized I had this person in my life who was an alcoholic, like, as in his entire family said, "This person is an alcoholic," and he quit without ever doing the 12 steps. And I realized I had him in my life, and he was, like, probably the best, like, sober, like, ally, you know what I mean? Like, he was the person who would, like, go out and, like, not do drugs or not drink around me, like, we could go out and have fun, sober fun, and, like, the program kept basically wanting me to get him to go to, like, Al-Anon meetings or AA meetings. And it was like, well, if he could, like, recognize that it is, but he doesn't need AA meetings. Like, this is bullshit, right? And then they were like, well, maybe he should go to Al-Anon meetings. It's like, well, but he is a quote unquote recovering alcoholic from your perspective, right? Or recovered alcoholic. And I kind of just had that like realization where I was like, but like, if you can't explain this, you're just shaming me for no reason. And I just quit going. And then I realized after I quit going that I like felt better and I felt less guilty and less shame and less, I felt free. I finally felt like I was living my life when I left. The life that they promised me that they were going to give me through the program.
hospital, did you stop going to NA after that?
I still had my service positions and I was still kind of like brainwashed enough to like, oh, I'm supposed
I
to
stayed
finish out
for a
my
while.
service positions. But so I had like, I would say there were 2 weeks in there where I still had my secretary positions. But what I did, I was angry at that point.
I will say, like, I did kind of the same where like I left and I quit reporting in, but I did leave my service positions and just stopped going to meetings. Was like, whatever, like, if you guys think that I'm like going into an institution, whatever, like, I can't do this right now. I was too stressed out from just other shit. And looking back on it, it probably wasn't the other shit. It was just that I didn't actually have time to deal with like having a job and like paying rent and like working, you know what I mean? Because of all of their fucking shit. And I realized that when I left, but I still held on to this concept of like, well, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. This is the only program that works. Like that shit I held on to for years.
I felt like I had been burned. I felt like I had been lied to. I felt pissed off. And there are just so many more examples. I remember go ahead.
It was killing you.
Yeah. It was
It was literally
Yeah.
killing you.
Yeah, totally. And I remember there was this one time where because I would share about this in meetings sometimes, and there was this one old timer that I would just get up in the meetings and I would be like crying, and I would talk about like wanting to die and being miserable and all of this stuff. That's not the message. I'm not sharing the message. And so he said to me one time, he's like, John, I wish you would stop getting up here and sharing the mess instead of the message. And I'm sure he would have been one of the people who
That is one of the sayings. They don't want you to share the mess instead of the message. Fucking annoying.
probably would say some have to die so that others can live, or some variation of, oh, it wasn't working the program, or he wasn't doing this, or he wasn't doing that. I would just be a footnote to incorporate into their share about how the program doesn't fail people or whatever.
It's giving emotional control. We can't have you feeling.
And by the way, their share. So your share means like when you get up and talk. And typically the way that we did it in our group was like whenever somebody like said thank you and then they went to sit down, somebody would stand up. And that was like the next person who wanted to share. And whoever like stood up first, basically, was the one who got to share next. And then you got to share once per. And if we had time in the meeting, you could share more than once, but that was pretty rare. But that was each, and you could take as long as you wanted. That was your share.
And talking that way, you have to be this way.
There were rules about
and,
it.
And also, like, yeah, making the evidence of it not working be evidence that it does work, because then somehow backwards in some weird cultanese or cult language, it's like, that was your disease. You weren't capable of being constitutionally honest with yourself, or whatever that line is. Incapable of being constitutionally honest with yourself. Oh, he didn't do all of his amends. He didn't give it all over. Oh, he was still holding on. He was denial about this. It's like, no, bro, like the treatment is harmful. Like when we go, like if somebody has cancer and they go to chemotherapy, there's no delusion that
they tell you, oh, well, you didn't give it all over. Like, that's why you're having problems. Like, you need to like reevaluate. You need to dig deeper.
Chemotherapy is without harm.
Yep.
It might be what helps save their life. It might be what is the final nail in, but you go into it knowing that there's harm. Just like if you have a surgery, you know that there's a probability with some surgeries that you might not make it out of it. With any surgery, there's a chance you might not wake up, or you might even wake up while you're still being operated on and unable to move or speak, God forbid. That's like almost scarier than dying, right?
Yeah, but they don't tell you that this surgery is your only option when you have like all kinds of other options available that actually might have better recovery rates. That's the thing.
Being alive and like feeling whatever. So there just is no warning label on NA or on AA about the potential harms of the treatment, what that might look like, and when to know when you should bail. Not bail out of life, bail out of the harmful treatment and try something different that's not making you want to literally run off a fucking cliff. Like it is horrific.
Yeah, if the treatment is worse than like being in the depths of addiction and wanting to get better, like try a different treatment. If therapy makes you feel fucking worse when you leave the therapist's office than when you walked in, find a different therapist. Like, yes, sometimes you're gonna like talk about shit that's like, I didn't really want to talk about that, but you should feel better when you leave the therapist's office or when you get off your Zoom call with your therapist than when you got on. Okay? If not, find a different one.
It is horrific.
Yeah. And I just want to say too, and maybe even have like a little bit of like a moment of silence or a couple of deep breaths for like your friend. I know your story of your friend, and every time I hear you talk about it, I just, I'm so sorry.
It's not even my friend. It's all of our friends, because we all know people. We all know people, and it was almost you. Your friends almost knew somebody. We all know people who have it in their heads and don't make it.
Yeah.
We all know them.
Yeah.
Or we know of them. Maybe we weren't friends with the old timer who had like 30 years up, and then he just wasn't ever in the meeting again. And then we find out that he took his life.
Yeah.
We all know those people. And it's just, we can't ever talk. And it's always positioned like the brain.
And it's always like, oh, well, like they finally like lost to their addiction and like the addiction like finally came and got them. And it's like, but would they, like, again, like she's saying, like sometimes it's people who literally have years of like clean time in the program. And it's like, would they have gone to those lengths if they weren't just like in these rooms every week after week. I've been to like over 500 meetings. I counted it out the other day, like just a rough estimate. I was like, yeah, it's easily over 500 meetings that I've been to. Like these people, we get it in our heads, right? And then when we leave, we're told you're gonna die. It's our way, it's my way or the die way, right? We have to do the 12 steps or we're gonna die. So what do you I feel like it's like you put it in these people's heads that they're gonna die anyway. So what do they think? They think they're gonna die anyway.
Landing on it.
And then
Literally
they
the
do.
marketing. I'm so choked up right now.
Because they fucking believe
Like
it.
literally choked.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
I
this
just
is why I
need to like breathe for a minute.
say AA kills
Yeah.
people.
It's all like rebranded as the disease, which literally doesn't even exist.
Doesn't.
And if you dare
Yep.
say it, you're the one killing people if you dare say it.
Right? Yep.
It's fucking ridiculous. So I want to be clear, there is such a thing as alcohol use disorder. Like there is, you can have like a drug use disorder, you can have an alcohol use disorder. It is a thing that can be treated psychologically. There's certain medications for certain substances that might help. But also it is a treatment program that you go through for a period of time until you are treated. And then you stop needing treatment because you are well.
I don't see any other disease that exists that looks like what they're trying to portray as a disease in the rooms. And that's because it's not a disease. Like substance use disorder, like you said, it describes the pattern of behavior. But what I really believe is we're talking about forming and breaking habits. That's what we're talking about. And we're habit making creatures. If we drink enough alcohol for a certain period of time, our body will get adjusted to that. And so of course it will feel challenging to make a change at first. But the fact of the matter is that we all hold that propensity, that capability to do it if we view it in the correct way, which is like, I'm empowered, I can do this, I can find real friends that can like help walk me through it. But if I think of it as a disease and set up like mechanism of success, or success has to be in terms of like the amount of time, like you can't ever slip, you have to just maintain your clean time for the rest of your life.
It's always like success is in like the linear, like, oh, if you slip up, you're like automatically back at step one, which I never like had like a slip up in my sobriety. I had to restart the steps when I like changed sponsors, but I had people like accuse me of like having relapse, which I thought was funny. Like, no, like, but yeah, people are like, oh, you must have relapsed. It's like, no, I didn't. And like, what are you gonna do? Like, force me to restart the steps because you decided in your head that I like. I had a Zoom call with my therapist today. She had a little doggy with little baby sleeping in her arms. Well, I hope that made you feel better. That would make me feel a lot better. So AA does encourage medical assistance specifically with detox. I went to a 12-step facility that was an inpatient facility, and they did have like a specific like detox unit where they had like medical care. But all of the people who worked at this unit were all like recovering addicts. So it was all people who were like working the steps. So like, yes, they were trained, proficient medical staff. My therapist had a master's degree, but she was also a recovering alcoholic, and she was working the 12 steps. And it's, I think that what it comes down to, what I've learned is that really most physicians and most therapists aren't specifically trained on alcohol use disorder. And a lot of times they're basically kind of told from their colleagues that like, well, you just refer them to the 12 steps. You just refer them to AA or NA. Because the people that are, their colleagues or whatever are again affected by somebody in the 12 steps. And they believe that they may not be in the 12 steps, or I mean, a lot of them might be in Al-Anon or whatever, even if they don't have any type of substance use disorder, but they fucking believe that shit. It's just insidious.
And then if you don't do that, then you've thrown it all away and you might as well go hard, right? Because like you lost all your time. It's like literally just this like regurgitating revolving door of people coming in and trying in turn.
Yeah, it's not even like Mario. You don't even get to start back at the beginning of the level.
Internalizing a harmful ideology of like powerlessness and constructing an identity around addict and alcoholic. When the program fails, you built up all this harmful shit. So of course it like leads back into itself. On the one
Now
hand,
that's your
it's a
identity.
genius marketing strategy, but
Yep.
it's so
I'm either an addict in recovery or I'm an addict not in recovery. So if I'm not an addict in recovery, I have to be an addict not in recovery. Fucking crazy brainwashing.
fucking harmful. It's
Like, you
so
mean insane?
harmful. And on top of that, all the steps is based upon this like religious nature of like sin and shame and guilt and you're bad and just like trying to clear away
You must
your
confess.
right. I really feel like the steps are like the equivalent of like trying to clear away your engrams in Scientology, where it's like you think you're trying to get to
Side note on this, I was looking at something today that actually, interestingly enough, cited the pastor who is responsible for like the original like 12 steps that Bill like Bill Wilson got for the from so there was like the before the Oxford group, it was like the Christian Fellowship something something. But it was like actually a Christian organization. The guy who wrote all that shit, Buckman, I think is his name. I have to look into it to like really see if this is legit. But there were people who were like claiming that he said that he was like trying to like that he had like homosexual feelings that he was like trying to suppress, and that was like part of his like development of the 12 steps was like suppressing these homosexual feelings. Now I don't know that actually to be the case. This is something that I'm looking into. Like I said, it started when I was looking through the orange papers. But yeah, I was just like it would make sense to me though. It really, really would. The whole like shame, humiliation thing. Yeah.
step 12 and then your defects will be gone, but no, it's actually a circle and you're constantly
yeah.
focusing on your defects and you're
It's a
constantly
cycle.
looking at all of
Like
the
this-
bad
like the
harmful
calendar.
aspects of yourself, and it never ends, you know?
Right. You're on a never-ending treadmill. Your self-esteem is in the gutter and you're exploiting yourself for free labor forever because you're not recovering. You never recover. That's why it's forevery. Recovery is temporary by definition, right? That's what it means.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
period of time, a finite
Right.
period of time. We don't know because healing isn't the same for everybody, but it's a finite period of time. But AA
Yeah.
is forever. So it's not being in recovery, it's being in forevery. It's fucking forevery, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
I also
yeah.
just want to say before we, because this is such a vibe, I'm having so much fun, even though I'm
Me
all over the
too.
place.
Me too.
I want to say, I'm really glad that you're alive. Like,
Me too.
I'm so glad that you are alive. And
Me too.
I just felt so strongly when you were like running and that you felt like the presence of your mom there and you got smacked down. And I just like, I'm just so glad that whatever that was, let's call it a miracle. I don't know. Without even being religious, there is unknown, mysterious things happening in the world that we
don't
cannot
know
know.
everything in the universe.
And I'm just so glad that whether it was you, your higher self, your mom, a fucking doorknob, I don't care what it was that tripped you or stopped you. I'm just so glad that you're here.
Is there
and
some
that
type
you
of history
survived
to the doorknob?
NA, that you survived 12 steps.
I'm
A
glad
lot of
you
people
Thank you.
don't, as we said, and I'm glad that you are a success story. You made it.
Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you. I'm glad I'm here too. I talk to Jake all the time and I'm like, my greatest vision of like, not that I believe in hell or whatever, but my greatest vision of hell is like, would be to float above my life if I had killed myself and seen everything that happened after I left and being like forced to see it. Because my life has, like, I can't even tell you how magical it got, but we're not there yet. We're not at that part of the story. That's coming up next.
Little teaser.
Yeah. Yes.
So
ahead.
you went to the
Maybe. Is
hospital.
there-
You had time away
I don't
from the
remember.
ideology. So the brainwashing cracked. I
Doorknob
think I
in
heard you
Alice in
say
Wonderland?
you may have fulfilled your commitments for 2 more weeks or whatever. You were still a little bit in AA. Tell us about you separating from. How did that work? You officially
Yeah.
leaving 12 step.
Yeah, what happened was when I got out for a couple of weeks, I did like a few more secretary positions. And what I did, remember, I had this, like, I was pissed. Like, I was pissed because I damn near almost died. And I like, at that point too, I just started trying to drink in all of
It
like the
took me a while to be like fully pissed. It was like my anger kind of started as like a slow smoldering fire that really like built up inside of me.
alternative recovery literature, bought like all of these books on like AA culture cure, like a bunch of Stanton Peele stuff, like discovered harm reduction, looked for any YouTube videos that had like a dissenting opinion. I was just like, okay, like I've seen that this is harming me and I need to see what else exists out there. But I still had this secretary position and my life almost immediately started getting better. And so at that time for my position, I wouldn't go to any other meetings during that week, right? This is like a meeting, online meeting in my town every morning. It was pretty small. The people that were in there, like, were going every morning, right, to take their like their daily spiritual medicine or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And so I'm not there, right? And so then I would like log on as the meeting secretary, just like smiling ear to ear, even if I was kind of like fake smiling to just kind of like stick it to them, but like I was coming and looking visibly happy and filled up. And I would be like, welcome to the blah 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 meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. My name's John and I'm a human being. Like, it's just like like not identifying as an addict and just like,
Oh, I bet they
visibly so full
hated
of life. And I
that.
saw the looks of all the people in the meeting, just like, how dare he? Then after that little period of like feeling like I kind of socked it to him a little bit, I just left. I was just like, I'm done. You can figure out, like, have someone stand in for you. That was how I eventually left. I will jump in here with another little interesting tidbit to my story. Before I started having really serious mental health issues, but I remembered at one point, because I had made a change when I went into the program. And so I started brainstorming. I was like, what were the things that I used to really love to do before I was having this relationship with substances? Maybe those things I still might enjoy, other than roller coasters. I always have like loved roller coasters ever since I was 6. Like, I knew that was there. But I remembered when I was about 10, and my mom gave me a.
That's the part of like where my anger came from, was realizing that like I had given up going to school. Um and at the time when I gave it up was when there was a person in my life who was paying for all of my post-secondary school. I had 0 bills from college or university. I could go to whatever college or university I wanted and had no bills to pay, right? But this program convinced me that I wasn't ready for that. I was an addict. I needed to not do that. And then, of course, like, I, got on a different path and this, that, and the other. And like, I'm only just now going back to school. It's 20 years later. 20 years later. And I think I they didn't entirely take 20 years from me, but they rewired my brain. And that's the other thing that is really frustrating to me, is I've noticed that my brain is different. I'm not able to think the way that I was as an untreated addict, right? And yeah, okay, some of that part probably was like being young and being on lots of drugs. Let's be frank. But I I missed the opportunity to like go to college in those years when I had a young, sharp mind. It fucking pisses me off, amongst other things.
Was like, all right, you're going to go to summer camp, and here's 2 choices of camps. So on the one, we have this nice Christian youth up in Northern California, further up north, or here's this quirky, weird circus camp that you could learn circus skills or how to be a clown or whatever. So I chose this circus camp, and talking about that whole
Circus camp
mystery
for the
of
win.
the universe, or whatever you want to call it. I do believe that there's mystery and magic that exists out in the world. I took the bus to this camp, and I got off the bus, and the counselor said, here's all of the different activities. There's juggling over here, there's stilt walking over here, there's clown class over there, there's unicycling over there. And there was just some sort of force that was like, drew me to the unicycle. And I just was like, okay, for the week I'm here, I'm going to learn how to ride it. And I'm going to show my mom by the end of this week that I can like ride without holding on to anything. Right. And I did it. And I showed her. And so then she bought me one of my own after that. And I just rode it all.
I had a friend who rode a unicycle, and I tried to ride it a few times. It's not easy.
All around.
And I'm like a pogo stick champion kid. Um, yeah, I can do a lot of those things. I can do like slack line, pogo stick, a lot of that shit. Unicycle.
My
Not for me.
town. I would ride it to school. I would ride it everywhere I possibly could. I fell in love with it. And then one day, I was riding along, and this car full of high school students drives by, and they throw a beer can at me, and they're like, "Get off the road, freak!" Stopped riding after that. I put that into the background. I'm like, it felt like I'm an alien. I'm a guy, but I'm like a sensitive natured
We're all
guy.
freaks.
I'm kind of a
None of us fit
weirdo.
in.
I felt a lot of shame about all of that. Done so much work on that. Totally feel like I'm in a different place with it now. So I stopped writing.
Self-acceptance is the vibe. Yeah,
Right?
motherfucker, get your weird on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I totally agree with that. And I do think that there is this weird sort of sense, and weird in a different way, the sense in the meetings to be like, oh, the fact that like you've always felt different, you've always felt odd amongst your peers. That's an indication that you have always been an addict, that you had this predisposition like forever. Like fucking bullshit. I am studying to be an art teacher at JR. I'm not sure what paid position. The juggling position? Circus? I think I could do some circus performance, but I've never like done circus performance. I've just for funsies done that kind of thing. Yeah.
1,000,000%.
I was just a weird kid, you know?
And so
I was
when
an
I
addict.
when actually towards
I
the
had a
beginning of my
predisposition.
time in NA, I was like, I used to really love like unicycling. Like, I wonder if unicycle.com exists. And I log on to unicycle.com, and I see that they make 36-inch wheeled unicycles. And I'm like, that's a giant wheel. Like, that seems fucking awesome. So I bought one. I would ride to meetings. I would ride along there. There's this beautiful bike path that like runs along the top of this cliff in my city. And I would just like ride along that, and just like felt so lifted up with.
Oh, the positions, no, they're not paid. So they're not even technically like supposed to be called leadership positions, because like leadership is like a little meh, but they're called in NA we're called like trusted servants. And yeah, it's very much like yeah. They also have this saying that it's like your first year in the steps is for you, and then every year after is to give back. So like you're supposed to like hold a service position like at least for like 1 quarter. Um and then we would switch them up every quarter. So like every 3 months we would switch them around. Um and we kind of had a rule that you couldn't have more than one, but you could have like the same one over and over again, or you could like switch it up and do something different every time. It kind of depended on the group. I think that there was one group around here where it was like you couldn't have the same one every time, but like from what I understand, there's like two of the top positions that they just like flip flop back and forth kind of thing. So it's like, does that really count? But no, it's mostly just power. That's how it pays, is in power. You can order people around, tell them what to do. If you're like a nasty old dude, you can get ladies to come over to your house, young ladies to come over to your house late at night, and be gross. And yeah, that's how it pays. But no, it does not pay in actual money. You get to pick the coffee.
Joy. And then like at one point I was
And
writing, and I was like, I wonder what would happen if I like put my headphones
sorry,
on
I'm in a
and
weird
like
mood
played
tonight.
music. And then when I fused the unicycling with the music, I just had to start dancing, man. I was like, I'm a child of the rave just like you. So I'm like putting on dance
Yeah.
music and like riding all around.
He needs an accordion. John, if you're watching this, accordion.
And that to me, it was just like this, what it really felt like was, it was like this feeling of flow, that it felt like everything that I was looking for in my problematic substance use, but not like doing drugs. There was no past, there was no future. I'm riding along the ocean, I'm jamming out to music, I'm like riding alongside the pelicans. I just felt so filled up with joy. That was something I rediscovered when I was in the rooms. And so I would like ride my unicycle to all these meetings and kind of got known as like the dancing unicycle man. What I really gotten in touch with was I started zeroing in on the fact that I feel way more happy and way more fulfilled dancing on my unicycle by the ocean than going to an NA meeting. Like it was just night and day. I was like, I just enjoy this so much more. So like I started following.
I'm so glad that I'm rewatching this because I'm getting like so many more details on the rewatch too. Like this John guy seems so cool. I'm so glad. Like his stuff is linked in the description, I think. If not, I'll check it and make sure. It's definitely linked on the one from last week. But he is From Recovery to Discovery, I believe is his channel. If you think the basic 12-step program is cult-like, I could describe the community. They put some people in at gun camp. Oh my gosh. Gun camp. The TA group. And you'll really roll your eyes. Oof. Gun camp does not sound fun. How much more harm than good? Lord of the Flies power trips. Yeah. That's and that's what I'm saying is that like a lot of these guys are in what I would call arrested development, where they are mentally still just like late teens, early 20s. They are they are physically in like their 50s and 60s, a lot of them. Or they probably look like they're older, a lot of them, because they're gross. But no, mentally they haven't matured beyond like 2021. Okay. That makes more sense. Okay. I get it.
Following that thread. And
I never went to prison. I only ever went to jail.
That
is where I found the 12
unfortunately,
step.
the pandemic happened, but I had already bought my plane ticket. I came up with this dream that I wanted to ride my unicycle around the world for 3 years through 19 countries. And I was going to like start in Auckland, New Zealand, and like ride. Anyway, drew this whole map, built this like pannier rig on my unicycle. It's the wheel, and then there's like a bag hanging in front of the wheel, and then a bag behind the wheel, and like packing all my camping gear. And then the pandemic happened, and I'm like, well, shit, this is not the appropriate time to do that. Then I started like blasting music and dancing, and it was just having a grand time. That carried me through a lot of the time, especially as I was like leaving the rooms, and was a bastion of joy during that time. But I also really realized that like I had hit a low point with my mental health, to say the least. And so really like dove into therapy, like I said before, like talked about my whole experience with.
And it's interesting, I think, sometimes how there can be that sort of juxtaposition where outwardly I have the same thing where I will be exuding joy and like I will be legitimately experiencing that in some cases, but like also at the same time I have like the shit that I'm dealing with. It's just like a like constantly like depressing, like I don't want to like get into shit, but like yeah, like that's the thing that we have as I think just people who are like neurodivergent. But again, people would use that as that's a symptom of like that you've always had a predisposition to be an addict, right? Hello, GS. Good to see you.
Ideology and leaving it behind, and that therapist really worked with me on that journey. I'll try to describe it to you. That self-hatred, that sense of worthiness had been there for so long and was so like pronounced that I needed to do sometimes multiple sessions of therapy every week. And what my healing process looked like was like my therapist would book me like at night. I had been in therapy, pretty much my whole life with different ones, and no one really knew how to help me heal the way that she did. She was not sitting across from me anymore in the room. She sat right there on the couch beside me, and she took my hand and just took me on this journey of bringing up all that darkness, because she's like, you have to bring the stuff up. You have to feel the stuff with someone that you love in order to transmute it and start to construct a version of healing within yourself. It went for so many sessions where I couldn't even.
I get what she's saying. I don't know. Like it sounds a little bit like maybe woo-woo for me, but I get that you need to like re-experience that in a safe environment. I don't know if it needs to be like with somebody who loves you. Like I think a safe person, right? Somebody that you can trust, that you respect. I don't know, love.
And say the words, I'm worthy. I would just like go into session and I would take her hand and I would go, she's like, yes, John, that's it. Like, say it again. And I'm just like, just trying so hard. Sometimes it would just be like screaming at all this pain. And over time,
I'm glad that she could.
I did it over and over and over and over until I could like plant my feet on the floor, power pose, I'm worthy. Like feel it with every core of my being. It just got to the point to where one day she said,
Okay.
Sean, there's nothing wrong with you. And there never was anything wrong with you. And she was like, I have seen hundreds and hundreds of clients. And you do realize, by the way, that like no one wants to do this work. Like most people can come in and they can talk about their problems and I can try to encourage them to embark upon this, like this level of work. No one wants to do it. This is like oftentimes why people like distract themselves with all of these different things. There's to greater or lesser degrees, we all have room to heal, right? And she's like, you're at the top of the list of people that.
I mean, but like that's people for the most part, people wouldn't come to therapy. I mean, okay, there are probably a group of people who are forced by their loved ones to go to therapy. But I think for the most part, people wouldn't go to therapy if they weren't willing to like work on it. It's just that a lot of times, like culturally, we've told them that like just going there and sitting there is like doing all the work. And like that's not all like you still have to like think about things and talk about things that are like uncomfortable and shit. Like it's not. You know, you get what I'm saying. But yeah, like I when I went through exposure therapy and did all of that, it's like why, like I wouldn't go to the therapy and do all of it if I didn't, actually want to work through it and actually not have a stupid fear of ants, which is weird. If anybody in the audience has ever gone through exposure therapy to something, it is kind of weird how like about like 6 to 8 weeks in, you're like, what the fuck? You like look at your past self and you're like, that was like a really stupid thing that I was afraid of. Like because you start coming out of it. It takes longer than 6 to 8 weeks, but it's just like you're like, damn, I was overreacting.
That did that. And you don't need me anymore. I'm here for you if you need me, but like you carry that torch out into the world and you live it. And maybe you can help someone else along the way. Who knows?
And to be clear, I could recognize that I was overreacting to ants before that, but it's like a different level of recognition when it's like you viscerally stop feeling that like reaction that's like, "Ah, kill it with fire."
Knows? And so that was definitely like the pinnacle of like the deep healing work that I did as I left the rooms. Now, it wasn't, things have gotten better, but it also wasn't sunshine and rainbows the whole, like it was really hard sometimes too. So this is a really fucked up part about leaving. A month after I left, I was laying down, I was like having a nap, and my mom was having like a nap too, and just having a relaxing, like lazy afternoon during the pandemic. And my mom like felt her stomach and she was like, my stomach feels like I'm in pain and like I feel really bloated. And I was like, dang mom, like your stomach is like swelling up. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna get this like checked out. And so she goes to the doctor. The doctor examines her, sends her in for a PET scan, and she gets diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she had had a blood disease ever since adolescence. She was 70, 71 at this time. And so she had been like having to have her platelets tracked and taken like a medication to kind of maintain it, and lived an amazing, like full, wonderful life. But she got this diagnosis. And so she started doing treatment. Now, I had very recently left the rooms, and with every fabric of my being, I felt like by my leaving, I had constructed a relationship with my higher power that was very like, you do the steps, you do the program, and God will provide gifts in your life. But if you,
I don't know if he has like OCD or like some like he might have said. I don't remember. It's not like I don't typically hold those people to those labels kind of thing, but that does seem like some like OCD type behavior, especially, excuse me, the thing that he was saying earlier too about like that he could not get in his head that like you don't do drugs no matter what. Like that's, and we, like I said, we chant that in the meetings, no matter what.
Leave, if you don't do the program, God's going to punish me. And so I believed with
Jail
every fabric of my
institution for
being that I
death.
gave my mom cancer because I
Oh,
left the rooms.
yeah.
It took
Well, he
multiple
transferred the
very
death
long
to the mom,
conversations with
but
her, of her explaining to me her illness and explaining to
good.
me that like this had been a
His mom
potential
sounds
of something
awesome.
that could happen for far longer than I had like been in contact with the ideology.
I
And
mean, obviously
she
there
was
might be more
actually
to
one
it
of
than that, but
the very first people who let me know. She was like, "Look, this is the type of like relationship that is encouraged for people to have with the higher power. It sounds like you were in a cult." So that was really,
yeah,
really, really helpful to hear from like my person, you know, from like my mom that like
yeah,
I was just so like close to.
Yeah.
that is
And unfortunately over the next
the first time that like you're talking to somebody about it and you're like this, it's like you hear somebody else say it's a fucking cult. It's like, yes, yes. Like finally somebody hears me like, yes, yes, it's a fucking cult. Yes. I know what you mean.
year,
Especially when
it
it's
was
like
just
somebody
one of the
who's
most
like present
aggressive
and close to you.
forms
It's
of
like
non-Hodgkin's
finally
lymphoma. She went
somebody
to
hears it.
Stanford. She got all the best treatment that a human being could possibly get.
Good.
And the treatments became more and more fringe. And she eventually was like, I'm not going to keep subjecting myself
Oh,
to this, and I'm going to go on hospice. And I ended up holding my mom's hand and looking into her eyes because she did the Death with Dignity Act. Instead of just like letting it get worse, she took what I call like the nightshade potion. She set a date and a time, and one of her best friends was like a nurse, and so the nurse was there to
I'm sorry I didn't give a
administer the
trigger warning. I didn't
cocktail,
realize this was
and
coming
I
up.
was there on her left, and
I'm so
my
sorry.
stepdad was there on her right, and we lit a candle, and she read some poetry and put on a playlist of like her favorite songs, and I, you know,
I'm so
she
sorry,
passed
John.
away, and she was just the strongest example of bravery that I've ever experienced personally in my life. And she was
She
like,
sounds like an
I
amazing
have no
woman.
regrets. I lived my life to the fullest that I could. um
The couple of things that he has said about her, like she sounds like she was an amazing mom. She really, and like insightful, and that's, I'm so sorry, John, if you're watching this. I'm so sorry.
I don't have to be scared because I'm here with you guys, and I'm ready. And she passed away with a smile on her face during that time, because I left the rooms and because I had so much time on my hands, like we do when we leave, right? I wasn't on
Yeah.
meetings all the time anymore. I had so much more time to spend with my family and my loved ones.
Especially he was that he was doing like just constant meetings all day. Like that he was doing like 5, 6, sometimes 8 meetings a day.
And pursue like passion projects. Like I rode my unicycle like 104 miles in a day and like filmed that, and like rode to the Monterey Bay Aquarium and back. I was able to tap into like, who am I? What do I want to do? If I'm going to be
Good.
of service, what's my paradigm of how I want to do that, instead of some cult's vision of that, you know? And
100%.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of went through that a
So
little bit when my dad died. It's like it's a weird thing when your parent dies because it like kind of like redefines who you are as a person on this planet. If that makes sense, it's like I'm not his child anymore. Like he's dead. He gone. So my dad died last year. For those of you who don't know that. And that's it does. I kind of went through like the same thing of like just like finding myself and like rewatching like Star Trek because he was a Trekkie and being like, do I like Star Trek? I think I like Star Trek just on my own and like that's okay. It's like he gave that to, and um yeah, you do weird shit with your time after a parent dies. I don't know how to explain it.
I just thought that was like just such a wild thing, that I thought that I like gave my mom cancer because I stopped participating in the rooms. Like, what the fuck?
I'm glad that she fucking
I kind
cleared
of
that
always
shit up
joke
for
because
him.
cult rule number one is that
I'm glad that she was able to talk to him about that. He was able to talk to her about that before she died, and that she was able to like make him realize that that was not his sin, that he was absolved of that sin.
we're not a cult. And
Yep.
cult rule number two, whatever it is, it's your fault. right?
Yep.
You are wrong. The system's not wrong. You are wrong. So
Yep.
that's the indoctrination. That's what my brain.
Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Forget the rarely, like it may as well be never. We're gonna ignore that. That rarely means that it does imply occasionally a person will fail that has thoroughly followed the path. No, we're putting the emphasis on thoroughly. It's your fault.
Was set up to do. It's always my fault. There's something wrong with me. If something's not happening right, it's because I didn't pray right enough. I wasn't surrendered enough. I didn't let it go. I didn't do this. I didn't help somebody or whatever.
I didn't work
So
the steps
it
hard
makes sense
enough.
to me that your default
I
is what the
didn't-
cult indoctrinated us into, which
I didn't shame myself hard enough. I didn't self-flagellate.
is if something goes wrong,
What's
it's my
the-
fault. What's
what's
my
the
part?
word? I
How
fucking
am I to
said that
blame?
shit
Oh,
wrong.
there's a trauma. Oh, like I got assaulted. What's my part in that?
Yeah.
How am I at fault? They call it like self-responsibility, but it's self-flagellation. You're always wrong. It's keeping us down and locked and in control.
Yes. Yes. Fake it till you make it. Yeah.
As heartbreaking as that is to hear, and I love
Our
that your
group
mom
may
helps you with the
added to
awareness
it,
on
but
that.
yeah.
I mean, that's part of the harm of the ideology
Fuck you.
is it's no
Yep.
matter what, it's your fault. And that's a horrific way to be going around that you somehow failed your higher power. So your mom's sick.
It works if you work it is like the other, like, yeah.
What the fuck?
Yep.
Like, really glad that your mom saw that that was bullshittery and that and that helped
Bullshittery.
you
I
wake up
like
even
that.
further to that, you know, what you were recovering from, which is a cult. And I just think that's such a beautiful story that you actually escaped in time to be with your
Bullshittery.
mom in her last moments and really to honor her. It's so bittersweet, but it's beautiful that you got to be there for her. You weren't in a meeting sharing about it. You were there holding her hand.
Yeah, thank you. And another really, really beautiful aspect to what you just said is my mom knew that I was going to be okay because I left
Mm.
and because I deprogrammed and am still very much deprogramming, but like went on that journey
Yeah.
and started healing, like really actually healing. Like she died knowing that I was going to be and am okay. She didn't have to worry anymore. She was worried for so long, ever since I was a kid, because I just had this horrible perception of myself that I was less than other
Yeah.
people and that I wasn't worthy of love. And she didn't have to
That's
worry
fine.
about that anymore. And what a gift, you know? What, like, that's so amazing. Sometimes on a starry night, I just like visualize her as like this like aurora borealis doing like cartwheels through the cosmos and smiling, just like knowing that like you're doing great. It's just so amazing. Since her passing away too, I mean, my life has just absolutely taken off. I got connected with this group of people, fellow roller coaster enthusiasts that I had like followed the creators of it, like their website ever since I was 8 years old, but I was too shy to reach out to them to say like, hey, your like videos of these coasters mean so much to me. But finally I got the courage to like write them in.
See, and that was his strength. That was not the group. That was not the strength of the group. Oh, they're our higher power. They're stronger than we are. No,
Email and say
he didn't
that, and
have
they were
to
like,
give up his
well, we're not
will.
really doing like public trips anymore, but like you seem like a cool dude, like we're doing it privately, so like you're invited. And so now like
Cool.
every year I meet up with like my coaster buddies and we like travel all over the world and like ride roller coasters together. Like serious dream that has come true. So this
That's
is another
not because he
aspect that I really
surrendered.
feel
That's
like
because
is
he
so
had
important
strength.
to highlight and mention. What AA and 12-step programs get right, in a sense, it's the community hook, right? It's like we like, other than hermits,
I had to apologize for baby trapping a woman beater. What the fuck? How does that make a person sober? Okay, so I talked about this earlier, and I don't. So to be clear, I do not believe that the 12 steps are good or a positive program, really for anybody. But I do believe that there is a certain subset of men that it will work for, and I think that those usually men. Maybe there might be some women that it might work for. That and to be fair, I think that there might be some women that it might work for, but like the chances of being uh like preyed on in that organization are far too high for me to ever recommend any woman ever try that organization. But I think that there is a certain group of people who like they need to just like see, like face the facts of like these are the things that you did to the people in your life. And like they need to to recognize that before they can like make a decision to do better. I do think that there is a certain subsection of people who need that. It's like 5% of people. It's not everybody. And for most people, it doesn't work. For most people, it's just like a shame guilt cycle that is just makes it worse. And that's why the percentage of people who get sober from AA is no higher than the percentage of people who spontaneously desist drinking once they recognize that they have a drinking problem without assistance from the 12 steps or AA. So yeah. Oh, what did you say, Sandy? Can I see it over here? Will it show me over here? It won't. It won't even show me over there. It apparently, yeah, like all gone, filtered out. If Titan is, oh, see, no, okay, that's weird because, well, anyway, yes, yeah, that's it, and they do also this like public shaming thing where it's like, why does everybody in the group need to know like my personal business about like my personal history? That's kind of it's supposed to be anonymous, but like let's be real, these are all like a bunch of people who have been like convicted of like or who have been arrested for, doing drugs or drinking offenses. Just the bit about meeting Buddha on the road. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Generally, like human beings want to feel like they belong
Let me know.
and are a part of something and seen, and
Yes.
so it has that hook of like that aspect of it. But the problem is that the dogma and everything underneath that is like harmful, right? And so what I started doing was going in search of like healthy community. So like I discovered that I love playing tennis. Tennis is like my family sport. I would watch it with my mom, and like a bunch of my family members play tennis, and I started playing and learned that I love to play tennis. And so I like got involved in a tennis group and like have made friends in the tennis group. I never would have thought this, but like at one point, someone who I was living with was really into like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And they were like, John, maybe you might actually like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, okay, this seems a little scary. But like I went and I tried doing jiu-jitsu. And what I discovered is that I fucking love jiu-jitsu. I suck at jiu-jitsu. I've been a white belt for like 3 years.
There's a couple things that I'm like that
Because
with. People who've ever played Scrabble against me, I don't know why. I just like my brain doesn't do Scrabble. So, I can write, like I'm a writer. It's not that like my brain can't do words, but I still really love playing Scrabble. And if we ever meet up in person, I will totally let you beat me at Scrabble. Not like let you beat me at Scrabble. I will play you my hardest at Scrabble, and you'll probably beat me. But it's okay. I'll still have fun anyway.
it's not just about me learning jujitsu. It's about healthy containers to confront fear. So my life had been dominated by fear for so long, ever since I had been bullied. And so now I try to, in a healthy context, confront that fear. So like, yeah, probably what's going to happen is some big, like tatted up purple belt is going to like take my back and like choke me out from behind, but he's not going to hurt me. You know what I mean? He's not going to like go so far to where like he's actually going to hurt me, and that's not his intention. So it's like confronting something on the surface that seems really scary. That's why I have my painting of my lion on the back, is like to remind the lions to remind me of my courage. The sea turtle over there is to remind me of flow, and like don't be too overly ambitious. Like go with the flow, take it easy.
Yeah, I love it.
So I am thinking of on this back wall. Well, maybe we should talk about it later. I like that. I like his lion and his turtle. I don't want to take away from that because I think that's really cool. What, Titan? I don't remember. What did I say?
And I love doing jujitsu. And it also taught me that physical touch is like a huge love language of mine. So then I discovered a style of dancing called contact improvisation. That's like the yin to jujitsu's yang. I started going to contact improv classes, and one day I did the warm-up exercise, and this lovely lady kind of danced over to me, and then we started dancing. And contact improv is like a vertical dance form, but you can also do it like horizontally. And all of a sudden we were like, oh, this feels nice. And then we kind of melted to the floor and spent the whole like 2 hours like of class cuddling with each other. Now I have a girlfriend. And so it's just like the more that I've
Interesting way to get a girlfriend, dude.
healthy forms
yeah.
of community that are not based upon some dogma, but just some interest, then it's like, it doesn't matter. I've made connections based upon who I am, not based upon being a part of a religious cult and having like a purity culture of like not touching a drink or not doing a drug or whatever. It's
Oh
based
my God,
upon who we are as people and the nuance in that.
That's hard
And then
for me.
also creating
Also, I feel like that is one of the things that they sort of took away from me, that it took me so long to be able to find that back, where I was like, how, because keep in mind, I was in post-secondary school when, I got arrested, and then they found me when I was in jail, right? And I knew how to, like, meet people through school, and I knew how to meet people through the rooms. But beyond that, how do I meet people? How do I be around people? How do I interact with people? Work? Okay. But I'm an artist. So a lot of my work is by myself. So that doesn't always work. Also, a lot of the people that I interact with as an artist are people that like I'm either working for or like they're working for, you know what I mean? So it's not that type of, it's a weird type of power dynamic. So like, no, not the same. But yeah, he just like went to some fucking dance classes. Started fucking unicycling around. I love it. John, you're my fucking hero. I love it.
Community. My house is arranged in a way that's just like oozes like creating
I gave
community
you your
vibes.
answer.
Like the whole floor plan is like circular. I've hosted events myself at like my house in the dance community. And so all of a sudden it's like I felt this pain and loneliness from leading the rooms. And then I like stepped into actually cultivating myself what I felt like was missing in my life.
It took me a while to
And
find that, and I think I kind of
it's
built up a
just
little bit of
the
resentment
journey has just
along
been
the
so
time, along the way.
profoundly and healing. And I just would have been so sad if I had committed suicide that I would miss out on this whole journey. And like, it's just,
Yeah.
it really feels like it's just getting started. It's like, what do I want to create in the
Yeah.
world? What type of force do I want to be? There's so much
Yeah.
possibility. What I like to call 12.
And that's even like I turn 40 next year, and I still feel like, oh, like I can take my life back. Like yeah, it's taken me 20 years. But you know what? I can actually go back to school and I can actually pay for it now on my own, right? And figure out a way. And also, like, if you are trying to figure out a way, there's, like, student loans and, like, Pell Grants and, like, all kinds of shit. So, like, actually figure out what you wanna do. Don't, like, just spend money haphazardly. But there are ways to do it. There are ways to do it. Talk to financial aid people. The financial aid ladies will help you. I don't know, Titan. Why? I don't understand. Why is Titan black and white?
Step programs is the glass ceiling society. I thought that I was living my life to the fullest while I was in it. While I was in that fishbowl,
Oh,
I
'cause
thought that this was it. My
he's not a
purpose was to
mod.
be of
Well,
service to addicts in the program of Narcotics Anonymous. And I realized that
he
no,
wanted to
that's
be
their
snarky
fucking
about it a
purpose
while
projected
back,
onto
so
me. Fuck that. Like, you can have it. You can take it back. That's not my purpose. And it makes me so
I
sad
don't
because I
need
still
him.
have a few people that I knew in the rooms on my social media that like were kind to me or whatever. We don't interact. I see certain posts like every day someone posts another day down, just like just scraping to just get by one day without like using. And for me, like, I don't count time
Yeah.
anymore, but like just for
Why
frame of
why count
reference, like it's
time?
been 10 years since I've smoked crack, and I don't think about it
Oh
at
god,
all
yeah.
because I don't identify as a person who is fighting.
It's been 20 years. It's been it's been like 20 years since I did probably anything besides, oh wait, there was did some cocaine. I'm trying to remember what year that was. But apart from like occasional cocaine use, yeah, like 20 fucking years since I like actually like
against crack or an
went
ex-crack
sober
addict
or
or any
anything.
of that shit. Like, it's just, I changed my identity. It feels like I'm a
Totally.
different person now.
Totally. I'm curious because if somebody has been listening to this and they're at that place now that you were at, where they're in 12-step, whether it's AA, NA, or one of the other sister cults, and they're banging their head against the wall and they're feeling like it's not working and it's them and they can't keep doing it. If they're in that mood right now, what would you tell them? Or what would you go back and tell yourself when you were in that?
Oh my God.
Should we
That you're not
speed ahead to
broken,
lighten the mood?
that you've been fed a
I think this is important to
paradigm
hear.
of thinking about yourself that isn't based upon fact, and it's based upon shame and guilt and fear, and that you absolutely
You matter.
can heal, truly, truly heal. And it might be really, really, really fucking hard, but there are allies out there that
You can
really,
heal. You
really
can get
do
better.
care about you. And I definitely, I would not be where I'm at unless I left the rooms. And I really believe that you can leave and deprogram and also not fall back into problematic whatever use. Like, it's possible. And
You know, Titan, that might have something to do with the fact that you, or might have something to do with why you don't have a wrench on my channel.
honestly, I'm gonna tell you a little secret. It's likely. It's likely. It's likely. I was a person who just every thought in my brain was that I didn't want to be here anymore and that there's no hope. I actually gave that part of myself, that seriously fucked up inner critic, I gave it a name. I named it Brutus. And Brutus is, you don't have to let Brutus
Fuck
take the
Brutus.
steering wheel of your car anymore. Like, you
Fuck
can
Brutus.
put Brutus in the back seat
Yeah.
and learn how to take the wheel of your car as the, what I call like the aware ego, the calm, centered, aware ego. And we have all the other parts of ourselves that'll try to get in the seat and take the wheel for a little bit, but like, they don't have to win. The rooms really, really held me back in the end. And
Same.
there really are, like, even I also believe like support has come in such handy for me. So actually, Stanton Peele, and I feel like it
Support
isn't
as
talked
in what?
enough. Like, he created a I think it's called the Life Process program, and essentially it's
Okay.
this
I don't know what this is.
online way of moving beyond a problematic habit that has like different tiers. And so there's just the online modules with like really in depth, like
That's basically what it comes down to, is that it's just habit breaking. It's not, you don't need to like believe in the disease of alcoholism and the treatment is like the rooms and you have to be in the rooms for the rest of your life and your only other options are jails, institutions, and death. No, like, you just have to learn how to break habits. You just have to learn how to break a habit. And when you break habits, the more habits like you learn how to break, the easier it becomes. Who'd have thunk it? But it's like having a ring of power that you can only access one spell from at a time. You can't troll when you're mining. Well, I beg to differ, Titan.
questions. I'm sure, I know you've created like questions for people to answer, but they go really in depth. Instead of it being positioned as like guiding you into a cult religion, all of the modules are based upon things like values, motivation, maturity, community. And these are all oriented towards like, who are you? Like, who are you, and what does your life look like, and what are you trying to create in this world? And I really got to know myself on the level that I did through that. The second tier is the one that I pay for, and that one has I call it group. It's like a weekly group led by someone who's like trained in like cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's just a rad human being. It's the antithesis of like a meeting. It's a conversation. It's like you go in and we all just talk, right? And oftentimes a lot of it is not even having to do with like substance use, although it can be. And if something were to happen where, like, I don't know, God forbid, if I did some substance that didn't resonate with me, I could like talk about it without this fear of like, oh, you got to pick up a white chip and you got to feel all this shame. There's a sense of safety that I can navigate through.
Oh, I've said his name. He's got video of me saying his name. He doesn't need more.
my own life experience honestly and
He's
be
even got a video of my
supported
mom
and
saying his
encouraged.
name.
It just vibes so much more with me personally. There's so many avenues of like healthy support if that's where you're at and what you're looking for. I know I got
Hell, he knows. I send him clips when I'm editing videos of Bowdy and he like says it funny. Like I'll clip it and send it to him. So okay, the chips, you get your chips for whatever. I don't even remember the colors of like what when you get which one. I never paid attention to that shit.
to the point too where it was like
I think
I
the
wanted
silver chip is
room
like 1 year.
to spread my wings and fly and not
That's the
feel
only
like
one I
I
ever
needed
remember.
support anymore. And so it's like now it's like if I'm craving connection, like I want that connection just because I want that connection and not because I'm in need of something to maintain my recovery. I just remember so clearly that feeling of not wanting to be here anymore, and I can't.
Steve ain't never gonna come on my channel anyway. I'm gonna back this up in a second because what he's saying is important. All right, what on here, but fuck Steve. All right, fuck Steve and his like trying to talk out two sides of his mouth kind of bullshit. All right, um, to be fair, I would maybe have an offline conversation with Steve and put it on this channel and like give him like maybe like ability to check off that I didn't like do any like fancy editing, like taking him out of context shit. I'm not sure. Have him sign off on it before posting it type thing. Um yeah. I'm trying to be nice and I'm trying not to like drum up drama about Steve. Um to be fair, I'm not fucking afraid of you. But yeah. Okay, white is the white like one day. I know in A or in NA, that's your like your key tag, your first one is white. But I don't remember the chips for AA. I just remember
Possibly I can't
but maybe
explain
they
just
have the
how
same color.
good
It would
life
be
has
like
gotten. I could talk
it's like red and blue or next and shit. And then it was like at a year you get like a silver one, or some people like got like a gold one if they somebody bought it for them kind of thing. What is the he certainly is. Yeah, exactly. That's I understand. I understand what happened, but like you understand what happened here, right? Fine. It's fine. If I believed that, I would give you a wrench.
for hours about it because it's my world is a world filled with possibility, and I'm just really grateful that I like stuck in there, and I totally believe that like you can too. You really can. Like I really believe that like healing is possible, and that like I don't know, for me, I feel
Oh,
like
that's right. He
love
is
is
in
the
NA.
fabric
I
that
forgot.
connects
I
us
was
to
thinking he
each
was in
other.
an
It's love
AAA. Sorry.
because of whoever it is that I love, because of who they are, not some cult they belong to. It's not this conditional thing. It's like I see you because I see you, like, and nothing less. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's. Oh, there is something that I wanted to talk about that I hadn't yet. So when I was 14, I was.
Wait, before we go back to that. Yeah, like I don't know what Maudie has to do with any of it. I don't. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I stepped in it without intending to. I don't know. What is this? So for that matter, he knows what I did, the power to do, but he didn't because it would have potentially messed up innocent people. Again, what is an ethical troll? Don't talk to Steve. Yeah, no, I don't like talk to Steve again. Like if he wanted to like do a sit down offline, I maybe would consider it. There would have to be certain stipulations. Exactly. That is the reason. And that is the reason why, actually, surprisingly. So before he was like an ass pimple, but like not an ass pimple that I would even like bother to like let on my channel, really. But at this point, there maybe would be, you know, some anyway, we're not gonna fucking talk about Steve. Fuck Steve. Fuck
was
you,
really, really lonely. I was a sophomore in high school.
whoever the fuck
My
brought up
only like
Steve,
best
fuck
friend at
you.
that time had kind of like started drifting away and like becoming more like one of the cool kids that fit in and everything. And they had all started smoking cannabis, and I was desperately lonely. Still hadn't like healed my sense of unworthiness. I kind of just didn't really know a lot about drugs other than like don't do them from like Dare and everything. I just gotten so sad that like when that friend offered me some cannabis, it just like sucked me right in. And I thought that in me doing so, I would like fit in with the cool kids. I still was like, I don't know, weird and awkward or whatever. But like, so I just found myself now, it was like when I discovered cannabis, it was like this release valve. It felt like to so much pain and depression and feelings of unworthiness. And so I really dove in and formed a habit
Moving
with it
on.
really quickly that was pretty destructive. My mom, when she started like smelling it on me when I would come home, she confronted me about it in more of an adversarial way. So it was like every hug became like a sniff test, and she would search my room when I wasn't in it. And so if she had been able to maybe like have a conversation with me of like, hey,
I
like,
don't know if my mom cared when I started smelling like weed. I don't think she cared. I think my dad already smelled like weed, so she's like, well, at that point, I like pretty much stopped competing at my sport, so it wasn't like they were gonna drop on me. And I think she like didn't want me to be drinking and driving, so she's like, well, she's not gonna get a DUI, I guess.
I love you, son. I'm worried about you. I've noticed this, that, and the other thing. But it wasn't that which caused me to isolate myself more and maybe start like ditching class, and my grades are slipping. And I had this perception of like, the fuck is the point of going to school if I just feel like shit all the time? I don't have friends. My mom now is like not on my side. I kind of spiraled, and I ended up getting shipped off to a wilderness program and then a troubled teen industry cult. The boarding school that I went to was in the very, very northern tip of Idaho. It was under the umbrella of the sea.
So the troubled teen industry. So again, it sounds like his parents were like decent parents. I did miss some of that shit about his dad. Sorry, not shit, but like some of the stuff that he was saying about his dad. Because y'all were fucking distracting me talking about. But I do think that there is this weird sort of like where the troubled teen industry feeds into the 12 steps, specifically NA. And that is a whole separate high control culty shit. And I feel like even when people get out of that shit, it like predisposes them to be like, oh, well, like this feels familiar when they get into the 12 steps. But it's like it maybe like gets them to like let their guard down a little bit and like not a great way. So yeah.
Do network of schools. I didn't find this out until like recently, like within the last year or two. And I always thought like CDO stood for like see as the staff are acting and do as they do, or some iteration of that. But what I now realize is that CDO actually stood for Charles E. Diedrich University, and Charles E. Diedrich was the founder of Synanon, which if you haven't like watched any like documentaries on Synanon, like check that shit out. It was like this twisted cult that was essentially Charles E. Diedrich went to
12-step member meetings. Who goes rogue as fuck.
Yeah. And he's like, you know what? Like, this program is being way too soft on addicts and alcoholics. Like I'm gonna create something and like really like tough love the fuck out of them. And so essentially, I kind of like have through my deprogramming journey seen that like, yeah, I was in the room for 18 months, but also like when I was 14, I came in contact with another really potent iteration of like that
I didn't
ideology,
even know that he was
like
say this, but
blown up into like I'm actually gonna send you like a short 10-minute video of essentially
It
the attack
predisposed
therapy,
him
and you can like post it in the description if you want. But like
to
so
the 12
essentially
steps,
attack
being able
therapy,
to
it's like a
take
meeting where all
root.
the chairs are in a circle, right? And of course, because it's a cult, it's a high control group, it's all that stuff. There's all of these really like unnecessary and fucked up like rules and regulations, right?
We had like specific meetings that the chairs would all be in a circle for, but then other meetings they would all be like facing the front with like a podium where like I guess it was like a lectern that the whoever was speaking would walk up to the lectern to share.
So like you'll get in trouble if your shirt isn't tucked in when you're in the dining hall, and you'll get in trouble if hug outside of like designated hugging time at the end of the night, and like all of this stuff. So what would happen is like a lot of these cults, and in a sense, kind of like 12-step, the members are all policing each other. So the kids get like rewarded or accepted if they call each other out in this attack therapy. So it's like we're sitting in a circle.
Yeah.
Yes. And so what that would look like in terms of like 12-step is like instead of just standing up and sharing and then sitting back down, it's like the surveillance is like someone would like get up and sit across from me, and they would be like, you know what, John, like you've been on your 4th step for like 4 months, like when are you gonna get that shit done? Like you've really been like slacking off, dude. And then someone else would like get up and sit next to them across from me and be like, yeah, and you know what? Like, I totally saw you hit, I don't know, like interacting with this other person in an
This is
inappropriate way. Were you guys like fucking up and smoking a joint?
awful.
Or are you being honest with us? It seems like you're
My
slipping. And then
meetings were
like
not this
someone else
bad.
would get. And actually, it was funny. I remember you were doing a podcast recently and talking about having the gun pointed at your head, and like that's what it was called, is like getting the gun pointed at you. And so you had
It
to
does
point
feel
the
like you
gun
get
at other
the
people so that you wouldn't get the gun pointed at you. And it was like but the whole
On
there
basis of
is
it,
that cult
yes,
mentality to
the whole
it.
basis of it, I
I
think, was just to break you.
You know, in retrospect, I think that there probably was a lot more of that happening than I realized. Um, I had not been diagnosed with autism at the time, but I think that a lot of that stuff would have just maybe passed me by and I wouldn't have even noticed. I did see some of it, but I wonder if it wasn't like even more of it that I didn't even notice.
You down and to make you
Yeah.
cry, like
Yeah.
Where they're like
and
making
there's
someone
just
else
so
a
many
target
other avenues of like culty weird stuff that I won't
because you're
go
supposed to
into.
make
It's
somebody
been
a target.
interesting to go through that experience
You're supposed
and
to shame
do the
someone.
sort of culty investigation work to like piece together that like this is an ideology that I came into contact with way earlier in life. So many of my friends that I met at that school, they're dead now, either by drug overdose or suicide, because it breaks people down. It breaks people down, and it takes maybe what struggles they had coming into it and then pours
Yeah,
gasoline on it in
it's sad.
the
It's sad that they're still allowed to
facade
continue
of like
in
healing,
Mexico and
right?
stuff.
Yeah, so that
Brutal.
yeah.
Brutal. I'm sorry to hear
No,
it.
it's fine. I don't regret any of it. Like that's the amazing thing. Like, yeah, it sucks. I wish that I didn't have to go through it, but
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's all a part of my story, and now it's
Yeah.
like an honor and a pleasure to be able to
Probably
like
gonna end the
share
stream in
that
about
with
15
the
minutes.
world now, and hopefully
Yeah.
be some sort of instrument of like hope in some form
Yeah.
or passion.
Yeah. I'm sorry your friends are dead.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, like it's another situation of you surviving.
I'm sorry that so many members of the 12 steps are dead. I'm sorry that I didn't speak out about this sooner. I think this program kills people. And yeah. It's something that I wish more people would speak out about. More people need to talk about this. That's why I'm trying to spread the message. Both of these channels should be linked down in the description. Please follow. Because yes, this program kills people. And anybody who has been in this program for long enough can tell you, yes, this program kills people. Thank you. Thank you for sticking it out with me.
Somehow. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the things that you've been through, you know, and you're here. And I just also want to say this because I know some people, I don't know whoever, if you're watching or listening to
Glad
this
you're
and
here.
you went through the troubled teen industry, or you had like a Diedrich, or what is his name, the Synanon cult leader, if you were exposed to one of his programs in some form or cousinhood or whatever, like let us know in the comments like what you experienced. I've had people send me videos of of what they experienced when they were a troubled teen industry. They've shown me like training videos or old school videos from that high
My
control
ex
group or
told me
cult
what
or
they
whatever
went
it
through.
is. They might not all
Some
be
of it,
cults, but
not a
some of
lot of
them
it,
for
but
sure. I've seen a doc.
that's yeah. Sorry, I should have paused that. But like my ex told me about some of the stuff that they went through. Not a lot of it, not all of it by any means, but yeah, it's absolute torture.
Documentary. I think Paris Hilton was even in it on
Yeah.
Netflix. And I've seen there was a
That's the one
dramatization
that you
maybe
talked
just a
about.
couple of months ago on Netflix that was like #1 for a hot minute. I forget the name of it,
It's
but
called The Program.
Troubled teen.
well, yeah, there's the
Yeah.
program and then there's another one too, because the program was more
Yeah.
like documentary, I think, but there's one
Right,
that's like a
right.
drama, like with actors.
Oh,
That's on
yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone told me
really
about that
good.
one.
And there was like no kids
Yes.
in the town or whatever because they all went through, they
Yeah.
all like were recruited to the program and then they stayed there, but nobody was allowed to have kids. I think you speak for a lot of people when you bring that up. It's like the grooming is part of like what can make us so susceptible later on. They call it like cult hopping too, where once we get used to one high control
Yes.
system, that we're more vulnerable to future ones because it feels somewhat normalized to us in a way.
Yeah.
I
And
guess.
yeah, so I think you really
Same thing happens with like people who are in abusive relationships. There's like a part of the abusive relationship that just like feels familiar, and because it feels familiar, it feels nice. And like it's yeah, the same thing happens with cults, I believe.
speak for a lot of people when you bring up the troubled teen industry and literally surviving it, as a lot of the people that you went there with. Now, we don't know necessarily, we never know why someone dies really. Was it the indoctrination they got when they were a teenager? Was it the indoctrination of 12 step? Like you can't say for certain, but I know that when we're exposed to these harmful ideologies, like it's always our fault no matter what, we're hopeless, learned helplessness, we're never going to get better, keep doing what's not working, the hope starts going down, the self-esteem goes down, the confidence goes down, and we see it maybe working, seeming to work for other people. The weird thing about 12-step though is you were saying that the people come back and say it's so bad out there. Nobody ever comes back and says how good it was out there. Look at
Yes,
you.
that's what I
You're
say
like,
all the
it's
time.
good out here. And
That's I was talking to one of my friends the other day about this, and he was like, "Well, it sounds like that's actually what we need to do is like to go back to meetings and be like, actually, this shit is bullshit. And here's how we got sober. And here's how I have, 20 years not smoking crack, not doing any meth or any hallucinogens. Okay, maybe some mushrooms. But yeah, exactly, Sandy. What was this saying? If they would set boundaries, even that he must attend counseling. Yes. Yeah. But at this point he's just yeah. That's and there might be something that happens. There was somebody in my life who was like that for a while, and like I did set boundaries. And there were like a couple times where I a little bit backed down from the boundaries and maybe could have been a little bit more firm. But for the most part, I was pretty firm on those boundaries. And just like for years they didn't get better until something happened that was like a health scare kind of thing. And sometimes that's what it takes. But yeah. Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, that is the case. Um yeah. Yeah. Again, there are links to things for assistance down in the description. Also, the QR code up in the corner will take you to links for assistance for substance abuse, including alcohol addiction. So, yeah, I'm gonna get off here in like 10 minutes. I'm gonna let them get to. Actually, it doesn't look like they're gonna finish this section anytime soon. But let's see what they're saying.
you know what? I want to just validate and verify that it is good out here in you because we're Facebook friends and I've seen you out there. I'm like, I didn't know about your roller.
Okay, I'm not Facebook friends with these guys, but anyway, I'll close this down. We'll go down to this. But yeah, I will say that it is good out here. It's much better when you take control of your life, when you actually get to be in the driver's seat of your own life. whether that's from some type of high control religion, something like the troubled teen industry, whatever it is, when you get out and you can actually like take control of your own life, it's 1,000 times better. It takes time to deprogram, and it's scary. It was scary for me when I first got out. It took me years to be able to find myself and find I'm so amazed by him. He was just like able to like sort of hit the ground running, and it sounds like his mom was like amazing, and luckily he had her when he first got out. And yeah, yeah. Yeah, he got tired of being called names for can't that's everybody like finds their limit where they're like, okay, I'm done. Like, and that's kind of how I was with, the one friend where it's like, okay, I can't help anymore. I've helped all I can help, you know? And it's hard being on the side of the person who's like the loved one and you want to take care of them and you see that they're like, you're worried that they're going to die. You're worried that they're going to be out on the streets and they're going to die. And I remember, years ago, this guy that I was long story, but he ended up like, he got arrested for some shit and ended up having to do, like, a month in jail, and I drove him to his month in jail, and I remember the look on his mom's face was this, like, look of absolute relief, and I realized that it was like she knew where her son was gonna be for the next 30 days. She didn't have to worry about where he was gonna fucking be. And that was why she enabled him constantly, was because she was just, like, always scared that he was gonna fucking die, and she was, like, relieved that he was finally getting a punishment where she didn't really have to be worried that he was gonna fucking die. Not that people don't die in prison, but relatively speaking, hopefully, he was gonna not be too fucked up. Also, I think, like, the wing that they put you in for, like, the 30-day shit is, like, relatively tame. So, wasn't like he was gonna get beat up. Even if he did at that point, Sorry, that was probably loud. But anyway, my voice is starting to go. I can hear it. I am gonna go ahead and get off here. I'm like 5 minutes early, but I'm gonna give you guys a minute for comments if there's anything that you guys. Oh, good. It wasn't loud. Good. There were a couple of things that like fell earlier tonight. I still haven't gotten my microphone stand set up properly, so it's still like not the setup that I would like. But I'm hoping that the sound hasn't been too bad. Oh yeah, maybe I'll tell you about. So my plan with the wall. Do you guys know Dolly's elephants? Let's see if I can find. I bet I can find a picture because I saved one recently. Yeah, there we go. Oh, we're gonna remove this. And oh, come on. I thought I had that figured out, StreamYard. Come on. There we go. So this is Dolly's elephant. And my plan is to do kind of a elephants inspired sort of maybe single black line type thing on the red. I'm not sure. I might add some translucent gold. But I think probably the elephants would be in black. And then either like just an outline or maybe even a single line. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to take at least 3 coats, probably more like 4 coats. Yeah, you have one that's very close in color. When I first did it, I did it at night and I woke up the next morning and I was like, "Oh, that's like it is winter time." So of course it went, after dark that I finished even just the first coat on it. And I was just like, "Holy cow. It's really dark." But it's growing on me. So, took about 3 coats. That's what I'm hoping the 3 coats. I technically have enough paint to do 4 coats if I have to. I initially went in for purple, but this was someone mistinted this, and it was super fucking cheap. So I was like, okay, worst case scenario, it's a primer for the purple, right? But I think I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think it's growing on me. The one problem I had with it today is I this morning I woke up and I like put on like an orange colored jumper and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be sitting in front of that wall later. I should not wear that." And then I took it off and I just like went around in my tank top for a while until I got cold later and put on another shirt and then realized right before the stream that I was like, "I'm wearing another orange shirt." So, yeah, I'll have to figure out how to keep in mind what I'm gonna wear on days when I stream, but besides that, maroon or wine burgundy, yeah. I think this is gonna be darker. Like, you can see it still needs at least 2 more coats, I think. I think it's gonna be a lot darker. It's gonna be like you see here how it's dark. It'll be about like that, I think. But yeah, that's the plan. I don't know. I'll see. I also think if I do the elephants, it'll probably take me like a month to do it all. But yeah, just I'm going back to school full time now, so I don't have a whole lot of time and I don't want to make it like a huge priority where I take time away from school or anything like that. Same. Same Titan. Did you know, you might know this. His first name is Salvador Dali. He had an older brother who was also named Salvador who died before he was born. So he was like a replacement for his brother. And his parents like told him that growing up, which is surrealism has appealed since I was a child. Same. I don't there's something about it that's just very intriguing to me. But I agree. And I wonder when I learned that about him, I think it was like I was in art school when I learned that, so 17, 18. Um, I was like, that kind of makes some of his surrealism sort of make sense. Like if you grew up knowing that you were a replacement for somebody who died before you were born, I feel like that would give you an interesting perspective on life. Your father was a replacement for his brother and he was an only child. I feel like that must have been such a mind trip. Did you ever talk to him about it? Did he ever tell you that it was a freaking mind trip? 'Cause it just seems like they have a dome museum in Tampa. I should check that out sometime next time I'm down in Florida. I literally remember my mom having a coffee table book when I was a preteen of great works of art that included Persistence of Memory. And it stuck with me hard. And I thought, yeah, it's a mind trip. It really is. When Martin died, that was the only reason his mother left. Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, yeah. That's I can't imagine if my dad wouldn't have told me that if that was the case for him. Yeah, that's sad. I'm glad I didn't get told that I was a replacement for another child. Yeah, it was a thing to do back then. But I just think that it really had to mess with the people who knew that growing up. Because I know that was like a thing where they were like, "Well, don't be depressed. You could have another one." Like it was a person. You can't just replace them. Like hard enough to like people when people like try to replace a pet, like you can't replace a pet, right? You think you can just replace a person? The fuck? Anyway, I'm at 2 hours. I should jump off of here. I don't have an outro. But anyway. Oh, I have this I can go back to. Nope. Here we go. Quote of the week. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. That's what it means to be free. All right. And who the fuck would know besides Nelson Mandela? Just saying. AA doesn't make you free. That's not freedom from alcoholism. That is wallowing in fucking alcoholism. Anyway. All right. Bye, guys.